the I'm coming around the being caught up with everyone else corner.
Oh, there you go.
So
That's
like
what
I feel like on relatively equal footing with all the new Whovians, but not with people like you who've gone back and seen all the classic Who too.
Speaking of which, dude, BBC apparently, I thought I knew about this. Well, I thought it only applied to BBC, like BBC UK, but BBC America, it has Classic Who that they show early Sunday mornings. Tom Baker Classic Who.
Nice.
So this morning I woke up because I got in late last night and I saw Doctor Who a little later than I usually do. And I turned off the TV. I left it in BBC America. So this morning when I turned it on, you know, the Terror of the Zygons was showing. And I was like, holy crap, this is so cool. So I was reliving my childhood, man. And I just remembered how crappy it all was before. The production was really crappy, but I was a kid and stuff like that got me. So it's kind of cool.
We watched tons of stuff when we were kids where the production was crappy, and it didn't really matter. We were okay with it. It's like,
no, and you know what? I like it when they bring shows back, but I like it when it's a definite improvement. Like Battlestar Galactica, when I was a kid, really liked it. I really liked it. But if you go back and watch, the original Battlestar, it's cheesy as hell. The production's crappy. But they brought Battlestar back, and they brought it back in a big way, improved it in tons of ways, and I fell in love with it. Same thing with New Who. I mean, they brought it back, and they changed the format, and all the changes were for the better. And I fell in love with it all over again.
Yeah.
So if they could do that with some more old shows, I'd be on that.
Yeah, we'll have to think about what other shows are there worthy of resurrection. I mean, they keep trying to do that. Like they tried to bring back the Bionic Woman, and that wasn't a terrible show. That was actually starting to get interesting before they canceled it. And they keep trying to do stuff like that, but it's just
yeah. V was bad from the start.
Oh, V.
Yeah. Marina Baccarin was the only good thing, and even then,
no.
Yeah, maybe Buck Rogers, bring it back, man.
Buck Rogers, that might be good. Although, who's a suitable replacement for Aaron Gray? I don't know.
What's her name from How I Met Your Mother? Robin.
Oh yeah,
Rogers would be perfect.
Yeah, that would be good. I could be okay with that. So.
Right, and then Chris Pratt as Buck Rogers. I want Chris Pratt in everything.
Chris Pratt for everything. Yeah, he can be.
Plus, I'm gonna make you proud. I finally saw Jurassic World.
Yay. After Jurassic World and Guardians of the Galaxy, Chris Pratt, like he's gonna be so expensive. Like no one's gonna be able to afford to hire him to be in a movie anymore. He's just like he's been in the two highest grossing movies of both years back to back, and Jurassic World is like the 5th highest grossing movie of all time now, or no, third.
I don't get why. I'm not saying it's a bad movie.
Yeah,
but it's just it's there. But you know what? I'll give Chris Pratt this. You take him away from Jurassic World, and I think the movie falls under its own weight. There's just nothing there. He gives it the substance it needs. So yeah, he deserves a big paycheck. And same thing with Guardians of the Galaxy. You take Chris Pratt out of this, and I don't know how that movie survives. So yeah, pay him his $60 million per movie. I don't know. What are they?
Amen. Yeah, whatever he wants to demand, he should get. And he's amazing. He's perfect at being that like everyman superhero. Right. So he's special, but he's also like just one of the guys. He seems like he's someone we could go.
Do you see him as Indy? Do you think we could reboot Indy with him?
Yeah, I think you could.
I think I'm finally on board with this because everybody was always throwing Zac Efron for some stupid reason. Although the guy's got good acting chops, I'll give him that.
Yeah, but he's not Indiana Jones. No,
he's not. He's not. And Chris Pratt, I think, is perfect for this.
Yeah, you need someone who's rough and tumble. The only thing, I don't know if Chris Pratt comes off as smart. And I think Indiana Jones also really needs to be a puzzle solver and an archaeologist. And like, I'm not sure that guy is the guy who got a PhD in archaeology, you know?
But wait a minute. He was smarter than everybody else in Jurassic World.
street smart, not book smart.
Well, I don't know how you can use street smart when you have raptors. I mean, give them some credit, man.
That's true. He certainly, but he had that like that bond and that understanding of like I don't know, like a man's connection with nature sort of thing, rather than being like a man of letters.
Well,
So
that's true, but then again, Harrison Ford didn't give off any of that vibe as Han Solo
no,
at
that's
all.
true. He didn't. That's
Yeah,
true.
so
He doesn't.
give Chris Pratt a chance, man. That's what I say.
I
Or
just I'm always thinking of him as Andy Dwyer, and so I'm
that's
not.
what I was going to say. Or we can reboot *Romancing the Stone* and *Jewel of the Nile*.
Oh my gosh. But those were always supposed to be terrible Indiana Jones ripoffs anyway, so they weren't,
Still.
you know. So yeah, that I'd rather have him as Indiana Jones than as Romancing the Stone. Although bring back the Billy Ocean soundtrack.
When the going gets tough,
The tough get going.
the going gets rough. Anyway.
Terrible.
That was my thing for the day. Anyway.
Let's talk about Doctor Who, because
This is what happens when Melissa isn't here.
yeah, I know. Well, this is we have hit a major milestone though, because I'm all caught up and I actually watched last night's episode, and I can actually speak about it with some sort of degree of knowledge and yeah, where I'm not just blowing smoke out of my butt. Like, so yeah, there is a lot going on in this episode. But before we get to that, there's some other pretty cool Who news that broke this week. The first piece of news is that, for better or for worse, we're going to get Stephen Moffat for another 5 years.
For better.
For better. Okay.
5 more years. 5 more years.
So we will get Moffat for longer than at least the first term of a Trump presidency. So if we were to have a Donald Trump first term, we'll at least have Stephen Moffat for that whole time to help us get through that.
We're going to build a Whoverse. We're going to make it huge.
It's going to be the classiest, best science fiction universe ever, and it's coming to America. Doctor Who, starring Donald Trump.
On NBC after I buy NBC.
Oh my gosh. Oh no. Anyway. So yeah. So I mean we talked about this a little bit, and my first inclination was just like, come on, give someone else a chance, Moffat. But then I think that I've overdosed a little bit on Moffat and on Moffat hate a little bit. Just going through everything so quickly and not having gone week to week, I haven't allowed the suspense to kind of steep in and understand what that's like. And now that I'm thinking about it a little bit more critically, like on balance, yeah, I like the Moffat years better than I like the Russell T Davies years. And I think I'd rather go with The Devil I Know than The Devil I Don't Know, especially because we have no idea who would take over in place of Moffat. And I can't honestly say, like, other than Joss Whedon, who I think would absolutely knock it out of the park every week. Right. So I think that's good. But here's my deal with Moffat. Moffat is like this amazingly talented gourmet chef, and you go into his restaurant and you know that he's going to bring you out scrumptious delights, and you smell these smells coming out of the kitchen and you're like, oh my gosh, what is that? What is he going to do? And then it comes out and there are surprises, and he's doing cool, new and innovative things. And you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe how amazing this is. And then he comes out and he's like, hey, everybody, how's the meal? And you're like, oh, my gosh, this is so great. And then he licks his pinky and he goes and he sticks it right in your ear. And he's like, yeah, you like it? How's it going? I'm like, why do you have to give me a wet willy while I'm telling you how great your meal is? Like, like, why do you feel the need to go out and like stick it to the fans just to show like, hey, I'm in charge here. There you go. How you like that? How you like that, nerds? Like, just cut it out, dude.
All
Like,
right.
the Sonic sunglasses is the ultimate example of this, and him coming out this week and saying that's why he did the Sonic sunglasses, because he's like, no, it's time to get rid of the screwdriver. I'm going to do something new, and it's going to be sunglasses. Like, what
Yeah,
the hell?
but then he said the screwdriver's coming back. Settle down. Um, Moffat is Dumbledore. Um, he will tell you something's going to happen, and then he does things off screen, behind the curtains, where nobody can see, and then all of a sudden, boom! You're completely surprised about what's going on. You never knew this thing was going to happen, or this thing that you forgot comes back again. Like Dumbledore and Gandalf used to do. They
Yeah.
were with the group, then they'd go away, and then we'd forget about whatever, and then they'd come back and you're like, oh, okay, so this is the way it's going to be done. He does a lot of that, and I understand how that pisses people off, but I like that. I like that. I like being able to forget about something and then having my face slapped with it, a few weeks down the line or a season or two down the line. I like that. I appreciate that because it makes me feel like the world isn't really as big as what I thought it was. Everything has consequence.
I think that's fair, and I do like the way that he does that. I just, and I think I said this either last week or the week before, where I really liked the way he dealt with Clara and the build up to uh, her being the impossible girl and figuring out that mystery more than I liked season 7 and the way that they dealt with Amy and the impossible astronaut and the missing baby, and where it felt like we got huge consequential things thrown at us, and then they got dropped for a long time, and then they came back, and they were huge and consequential again, and then they got dropped, and then they came back. I like the little breadcrumbs and the little build up to like where we're going along and we're trying to figure out this story instead, and then it all gets revealed. I like that method of storytelling, and it feels like that's what we're getting so far in season 9. So
Okay, that's fair enough. But I think in the past, what Moffat was doing was telling you, hey, look at this. Check this out. Look, you see this? You see this right here? Well, this is not important right now.
yeah,
And then he'd come back and say, hey, look at this. This thing right here, not important. Stop focusing.
yep.
And all the while, there was an undercurrent of things happening that you weren't aware of because he made you focus on something else that wasn't important at the time.
It's misdirection. It's
Right.
he's a
Purposeful
magician.
direction. And you know what? It's fair criticism that maybe he did that a bit too much or for a bit too long. But I was okay with it. I was seriously okay with it. It worked out well at the end, I think. It
Yeah.
wrapped up everything well.
Yeah. I think my biggest problem with the Sonic sunglasses is
Everybody's problem.
well,
We don't like this.
it's not that I have a problem with it being in sunglasses or something. It's like I mentioned before that I was tired of during the Matt Smith, David Tennant era, the Doctor as Jesus references. Well, now I'm tired of Peter Capaldi as a rock star references.
Ah,
Like, and we got hit over the head with a lot of that really recently. Some of it's fun, but I like he's not Keith Richards, and we don't need him to be Keith Richards.
right.
Like I like the guitar playing Doctor. I think that's fun. I enjoy him playing all sorts of crazy things on top of an M1 Abrams tank in medieval England, but I don't need the sonic screwdriver to be sunglasses. So therefore he has to be wearing sunglasses everywhere. He can wear sunglasses sometimes, that's fine, but I don't want him to always be a rock star. I like I like him being the rough and tumble doctor who we saw a lot more of in this episode.
I'm glad you brought up rock and roll Peter Capaldi because where he's telling us about the bootstrap paradox. I'm like, oh, kick ass. Beethoven's Fifth, nice. And then he brings out his guitar and plays
Da
the
da
old.
da da.
I was like, I was so into this, and then you do this, and like, I don't know how I feel about that anymore. Like, drop the guitar. It's enough. We get it. You used to be in a band with what's his name, Craig Ferguson. We
Yep.
get this, dude. Okay, you don't. You got enough rock and roll cred. You don't need to shove it in my face. But I'm tuning on to you because you're the doctor, not because of what you can do with the axe.
Yeah.
I kind of, not kind of, I did get annoyed with that. And with the Sonic sunglasses, I don't like it. I just don't. And I think the majority of us Whovians don't like it because I don't really see the point to it.
Exactly. I don't mind like switching it around and having like a redesign of the sonic screwdriver, or even the sonic screwdriver as a thing. But if you wanted to have a piece of wearable tech, I mean, I said to you, what would Tony Stark do? And he wouldn't put it in a pair of sunglasses. He'd, create something that, I don't know, you could have on your wrist, or that was somehow more convenient. But you wouldn't, I don't know.
That's right. But having said that, everybody expects Tony Stark to do that. Nobody knows what to expect from the Doctor, ever.
I guess that's true.
And truth be told, when it was revealed that the sunglasses were Sonic sunglasses, I bet you were like, okay. We may not have liked it, but at least we didn't expect it. None of us did.
Yeah.
That was, in that way, it was cool that it was completely unexpected. But overall, I don't like it. I don't see. No, I don't like it.
Well, I guess you're right. The good news is the screwdriver's coming back, and a year from now, we're all gonna laugh and be like, "Oh, remember when we were all upset about the Sonic sunglasses?" And now we're on to the new thing that we're really upset about. So hey, 1 sec.
All right, cool.
Okay, Jackson has promised me he will stay in here and he will be quiet while we. Was that super loud while he was?
No, not at all.
I didn't think it was too much. But
I heard something in the background, but you got kids, dude. I expect that.
Yeah, Anyway,
so the Sonic sunglasses. Another thing that it does, it gives us Whovians gives us something to quote about when we're wearing our Wayfarers.
Yep.
Yeah, that's kind of cool too. Like the scarf. It gives us a little something. Was he thinking that? I doubt it. Maybe, who knows? Or maybe he just wanted to wet willy everybody. I don't know.
The bow tie, the fez, the Stetson, I don't know. There's a lot there. On balance, I'm just I don't know. I guess I'm tired of Moffat messing with us, but at the same time I understand that's kind of his MO. I mean, who else would kill off Sherlock Holmes and then not come back for 2 years and let us know what happened? Like, jeez, what a dick.
Like, what an asshole. Andy, I had forgotten that it's already been 10 years since the last season. Now I'm going to do nothing but think about that all day. I'm like, when is it coming back? It's supposed to come back in January,
right? Sherlock? Yeah, it's coming back soon. I think actually they're doing a Christmas episode.
Oh, that's true. You're right. Yeah.
So we're going to get a disappointing Who Christmas episode and a disappointing Sherlock Christmas
No, we're
episode.
not, because the Christmas episode for Who is when we lose Clara.
And River Song's coming back.
River Song's come back. So I don't think it's going to be wholly disappointing.
Yeah,
Just
because Clara's gonna be gone. Good riddance.
good riddance to her. No, man, I like her now.
Yeah, no, I do. Like I said last episode, I think we complain about her because we're fans and we like to complain about stuff. Not
Yeah.
she's cool. I like her. I like the what she's done the last few episodes, especially like the whole interplay with her and Missy in the first two episodes. I really like that. So we'll. I don't know if we'll come back and I'll talk about how I felt about those first three episodes or not. But let's just dive in to this week's episode because I really like this, and there was a lot here that I thought was just super cool. So I don't know where should we start with this. Okay, well, let's start where he starts with the bootstrap paradox.
Right.
And so I don't know. You explain the bootstrap paradox, Mark, and Beethoven, and how he explains it.
It's basically it's a circular thing where, okay, not an object, we have an object, right?
Hmm.
But that object was given to a past person or self by the future person or self, and then in the future that person repeats it. But if the future person gave it to the past person, then what is it still there? Like, who created it, right?
Hmm.
And that's why he brought Beethoven's Fifth. We all assume Beethoven wrote Beethoven's Fifth, right? Correctly. We all assume this,
Yep.
right? But if the doctor came from the future and gave Beethoven the opening lines or all of the sheet music, uh, was it the doctor who created Beethoven's Fifth, or did Beethoven write it and then future doctor got his hands on it and went to the past? If that's the case, did Beethoven write Beethoven's Fifth? It's this weird paradox how no matter which way you cut it, we still have the object, but we don't know who the true author or owner is
Yeah.
of said.
Yeah, and we got that. I mean, this was all over Blink. I mean, the messages that they leave on the DVDs for Sally Sparrow is she wrote them down and gave them to the doctor so that when he went back in time, he would record them and leave those messages for her.
Correct.
And so we don't know where those came from. So
the interesting thing about this is that I was reading up on this last night because the doctor said Google it, so I did. And the funny thing is that when I went to Google last night, I typed in Bootstrap and it immediately put Bootstrap Paradox as the first hit. So I guess half a jillion other people on Earth were doing the same thing.
yep.
And apparently, this paradox term only came around last year, the Bootstrap Paradox, according to what I read. But then again, it was Wikipedia, so who knows?
Really?
But it said established paradox paradigm established in 2014. So what I like about this is that if it's true, that Moffat is reading and Moffat is listening, and he's integrating these things into Doctor Who, into the Doctor Who universe. That's pretty cool because that means he's being proactive. He's not just sitting somewhere in a dark corner saying, "What idea do I have next? Let me pull it out of my ass." The dude's actually out there reading, watching, and being aware of what's going on, and he's trying to incorporate that into the Who universe. I really appreciate that. So anyway, according to what I read, it was established last year in 2014, and you're right, it does directly relate to Blink as to how they were able to get away with what they were, but we don't know exactly how the directions and how the videos got to where they were at, or who really did all that work. Was it the doctor or was it Carey Mulligan's character?
Yeah. So I think this is really cool. So I think, yeah, this term was only popularized in the last year, but it came from an old Robert Heinlein story by his bootstraps, where the character goes back in time to help his old self become successful in the future, but then he would not have been successful in the future and been able to travel back in time to tell himself that if he'd not been if he hadn't gotten that advice at a younger age. So it's an older concept, and it's all over everything. I mean, we've talked about this when we did our old time travel episode way back in episode 1 or 2, like Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, and Somewhere in Time, and there's a lot of other instances of this, but it's a really cool idea, and we've got it in spades in this episode because the Doctor sends his ghost back in time with a message that is not. It's supposed to be a message for Clara, but it's not really a message for Clara. It's a message for him.
Right.
That's so cool.
Right. Yeah.
That's just awesome. So, yeah, who came up with that? Who decided what to do? But really, I mean, the essence of this message, though, was really simple. It wasn't even the, like, don't even blink. Don't even blink. They're so fast. It wasn't as complicated as that. It was just a list of names, and the fact that Clara was on the list of names of people who would die, so to motivate the Doctor to take matters into his own hands. Like, that's he knows himself, and he knows that that's what's going to motivate him. Or maybe he doesn't know that. He just knows that it did motivate him, and so that's what he's going to send back in time.
And this episode, we hadn't seen it in the first 3 episodes. We finally saw it this episode, and it relates directly to last year. And how different he is from Matt Smith and the other Doctors is that he is more than willing, and we've discussed this before, Peter Capaldi's Doctor is more than willing to let people die.
Mm-hmm.
People that he thinks are not going to survive anyway, might as well serve a purpose. And it happened this episode. It hadn't happened for the first 3, but in this episode, he tells that young lady, I forget her name, the one that was with him, and the Indian guy. He says, "You stay in the TARDIS," and she's like, "No way! You think I'm going to stay here?" He's like, "All right," knowing that she's going to die. So he experiments with her, fully knowing that he's going to die, and that's borders ethics right there. Something that Matt Smith probably wouldn't do, David Tennant definitely wouldn't do. And Christopher Eccleston never even thought about doing anything like this. He's perfectly fine with, I'm pretty sure you're going to die because that's the way it was worked out in the code. So I'm going to let you do your thing and see exactly how you die to see if I find a way out of this. Yeah. That's extremely unethical, because imagine if our government worked well, not imagine, our government does work that way.
It does.
But the whole concept of expendable people, he's the only Doctor that's had that attitude.
Yeah, but okay, so here's a thought, is at the very end of the episode, because she died, her second in command or whatever tells the deaf crew member and her translator, like, you shouldn't wait to tell someone how you feel about them, and it puts the two of them together.
Right.
So it's like there's kind of a nice conclusion to that. It's like the end of The Big Lebowski, where he's like, well, I didn't like to see Donnie go, but it makes me happy to know that there's a little Lebowski on its way. It's like yeah, it's bad that somebody died, but it's kind of nice to know that there's something good that came out of it, at least.
Yeah, but this is different because he did nothing to stop this death.
Okay, that's true. You're right.
He did everything to stop Clara's death, but he did nothing to save that death. So once again, the concept of expendable people is totally new with this Doctor. And I thought maybe he had dropped it because we, like I said, we hadn't seen anything like that the first 3 episodes. But here it comes again.
I had a thought about this that I think Capaldi is more calculating
Yes.
because I think maybe it's because he at some level knows what happened to Gallifrey and he didn't actually kill everybody. And we as the audience know that. And so we're not held down by the weight of this idea that he committed genocide against both his own people and the Daleks. So he doesn't have to deal with the moral weight of having made that choice because, hey, Deus Ex Machina, Deus Ex Doctora, Gallifrey's okay. It's just in a pocket universe somewhere and we've got to find it. But everybody's okay. I didn't actually murder those millions of children. So
He just found a way to desert them in some alternate universe or something.
But they're okay.
That's bad.
At least they don't have Daleks and Cybermen trying to kill them all the time. So, they're probably all right. So, but I think that's interesting that because he hasn't had to deal with the moral consequences of that choice, that he's more willing to make the marginal small decisions that like, oh, I'll let that person die.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe not. Okay. It was just a theory. It was just an idea.
I think that we just have a darker Doctor.
Well, that's true.
He has those that he cares for, and that's pretty much it. He's going to try and save as many people as possible, but if a few die, Whereas before, the Doctor wanted to save everybody. Remember Christopher Eccleston's Doctor when he was so excited that nobody was going to die? He's like, for this time, this one time, everybody lit. He was so excited. Mm-hmm. This dude's like, yeah, I know you're going to die, so I'm going to try something with you.
Yeah.
It's completely different. And I'm liking it. I'm really liking it. I like this ethically dubious version of the Doctor.
Well, speaking of the darker Doctor, let's talk about the Fisher King. Because, man, that is like one of the scariest creatures I've ever seen on Doctor Who. Can you think of a monster that's scarier than him?
Overall monster, I'd still have to give it to the Weeping Angels. Because, yeah, you think you're getting what you're getting by seeing a statue, and then it just moves, and it's baring its teeth at you, and it throws you to 1920s New York where you can never come back, and then you upset your doctor for years and you upset the fan base. Never mind. Okay. But yeah, I think they would. You know what? Okay. Well, you know what? The Fisher King, his immense size would get me. Like there would be human droppings if he were right in front of me. Like, oh crap, because he's just so big. But honestly, if you put the silence in front of me, because of their elongated face and their hands and the way they talk, oh crap! Like that thing would give me nightmares for the rest of my life. I don't know. It's a different kind of scary, I guess.
I agree.
The only difference is the Fisher King has no problem just straight up killing people.
Yeah,
that's all he's doing.
Yeah. So I mean, there's not a lot of depth there, but in terms of like character design and just being really strong and powerful, it's like, wow, he's pretty scary. I'm glad that they were able to dispense with him so easily.
Right.
Let's just drop an entire lake full of water on top of him, destroy a dam, and there we go, he's dead. Did you see who provided his voice?
Yes.
Yeah, Peter Serafinowicz. So, what a bunch of a-holes.
What a bunch of a-holes.
I love that guy.
The guy who did, somebody else did the sound, like the screaming and all that.
Mm-hmm.
The lead singer of Slipknot. What's his name? Corey something.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Corey Taylor. Yeah.
Corey Taylor, there we go. Yeah, he actually did the whole screaming bit, the scary sounds. Yeah.
The scary sounds. The sounds that brought all of the ghosts together and got them into the Faraday cage. So,
Yeah, it took two people to voice this one character, so maybe that is the freakiest character.
I think that's pretty cool. I think that's pretty awesome. I mean, you get the guy who did the voice of Darth Maul and the guy who is the singer for one of the most metal bands out there right now, and put them together, and yeah, that's pretty. That's pretty cool. Hey, question about the name of the Faraday cage. Have we ever heard that name before anywhere else?
Yeah.
Do you know why it's called a Faraday cage?
Yes, actually, that term came up during. Remember when Mark Gaddis came out in that one episode where he became young, but then he became this like weird.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay,
He was inside a Faraday cage. A Faraday cage is named after God knows who, some Faraday guy. That it's a cage that protects you from electricity when you're messing around with the Tesla coils.
that's right. I was wondering. I'm glad you mentioned that because I'd completely forgotten that episode with Mark Gatiss. Yeah, that was. I wonder if that's a lost reference because of time travel scientist Daniel Faraday.
Crap! I didn't even think about that. You're right.
Interesting.
Holy
Anyway,
That's
well, if we ever get a chance to ask, we'll ask.
the next
Moffat.
meeting with Moffat. Yeah, yeah. I'd like to
Anyway,
talk to that guy.
let's talk a little bit more about paradoxes because I love paradoxes. I think it's a great concept. There's the Bootstrap paradox, but recently I've been talking with a lot of my friends about this other paradox surrounding the Berenstain Bears. And all of us in our collective unconsciousness seem to remember that they were actually the Berenstain Bears,
Right.
spelled Stein. And you look at it now, and it's spelled Stain. And they're the Berenstain Bears. So there are some people who have taken this as a sign that as proof that there are alternate universes and time travel, and that we all have memories of another reality where it was in fact the Berenstain Bears, and now it's the Berenstain Bears. I'm vastly entertained by this. What do you think about it?
It was always the Bernstein Bears, and I don't care what anybody says. Stein. What is the other spelling? Bernstein, right?
Dane.
Bernstein.
Yeah.
That's just, it doesn't make any sense. I'm thinking there was this anti-Semitic group that decided to attack the Bernstein Bears and change it. I don't know. I don't know why this change happened, but I swear to God, when I was a kid, it was the Bernstein Bears. I read all those books when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I never even noticed till you told me that you wanted to talk about the Bernstein paradox, and I'm like, what the hell is he talking about? So I Googled it, and I was like, what the hell is happening here, man?
I know, right? And now it's like one of those things that's like cannot unsee. And it's like,
No,
yeah.
You know what I'll do? And I'm going to go to all the used book places, and I'm going to find a Bernstein Bear book, and I'm going to make it into a meme, and the whole world needs to shut the hell up because it's not Bernstein. It makes no sense.
I know it really doesn't, and it's so interesting. I just absolutely love this. But see, if time changed, then all of those books got changed too. I mean, unless somewhere we find a book that was shielded from, whatever affected our reality, and it still says Berenstain Bears, just like we all remember.
This is a worldwide Christian cabal plot to put an end to Bernstein. That's what it is. I'm tired of this.
Well, that's what I don't get, because it's like anyone who has a Steen or Stein at the end of their name, like that is a traditional Eastern European Jewish name, and how someone would somehow end up with their last name being Stain. Like, I understand when people went through like Ellis Island and stuff, like people's names got changed, and like if Peter Serafinowicz's grandparents came through Ellis Island 100 years ago, they would have been like, "Okay, Mister Smith." I'm like, we don't know how to spell that Serafinowicz. That's
Mr. Seraph, Mr. Surf.
Surf. Yeah, your last name is Surf now. There you go. Yeah,
Go
like I understand how that happened, but Berenstain, like, you can't tell me how that happened without like something weird going on. And they didn't change it enough to make it wouldn't have been like, oh well, there were people 100 years ago who wanted to hide their Jewish roots, so they just changed their name to something else because it still
Right.
sounds very Jewish. And so it's like, why in the world would someone change their name to Berenstain? And that's not like a a naturally occurring name. So something had to have happened. The only thing that I have going for me on this is that I'm not convinced that I didn't have something to do with it.
Huh.
So I'm not until the day I die, or until the day I invent time travel. Then yeah, maybe we go back in time and we change it to the Berenstain Bears, just to mess with everyone as a way of winking at everyone in the universe, saying like, "Hey, we figured out time travel. Check that out."
Yeah. I'm gonna have to find this. I know there has to be at least one book where it says Bernstein Bears. Has to
Oh,
be.
well, I'm sure someone's photoshopped it, but
No, no, not Photoshop. I want to find the books. There has to be a book.
we keep pestering one of my friends, Brooke, where every time we see a Berenstain Bears book, we take a picture of it and post it on her Facebook wall because she's
Well,
just so freaked out by all of this.
I am at a used book website, and there's a whole bunch of Bernstein books. Bernstein books, a whole bunch of them. We just have to buy them. I'm not sure I'm willing to spend $9.55 on a Bernstein Bears book,
Yeah,
but
I know,
I'm
right?
looking at them right here. So there was Bernstein Bears. Maybe you know what? And I just remembered this. Remember when Chick-fil-A had the whole the whole homophobic thing going for them?
Yeah.
And I think it was Jim Henson that was doing toys for them, and they said, "We're out. We no longer want to work with you guys."
Mm-hmm.
And they replaced all the toys with Bernstein books. Well, I thought they were Bernstein books, but I found it funny that they replaced all the toys with Bernstein books. I guess Bernstein. I never even paid attention to it. So maybe the owner of the Bernstein books converted to Christianity and decided to change. I don't know, man. I'm grasping at straws here because I'm clearly looking at a used book right now that I could order that says Bernstein Bears.
I believe you. I just I think this is all. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Somebody's effing with everybody, and it's pissing me off.
Exactly. So I sincerely hope that that person is me. So we went back in time and changed it to Berenstain Bears so that we could all have fun talking about time travel. So
Yeah.
with that in your head, we're going to take a little break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about the first 3 Capaldi episodes. Deep breath, everybody. Into the Dalek and Robot of Sherwood. So we'll be right back.
I think what happens is that after this podcast, we're actually going to do it.
I hope so.
We're going to prove the Bootstrap paradox.
I want to learn how to time travel. Yeah, that would be cool. That would be an awesome. Although it makes me sad that if I knew the secrets of time travel, I feel like I should have already come in and intervened in key points in my life already.
That's true.
So
What a waste of time travel if all we're doing is proving that the Berenstain Bears.
I know,
That's a waste of time travel.
yeah, but maybe it's maybe it's one of those things like in the Time Machine with the Morlocks and all of that, H.G. Wells'
Oh
original
yeah,
one. It's like
yeah.
he can't go back and prevent the death of his wife because that's what causes him to build the time machine in the first
Right.
place. So maybe it's like all of these things that I would have thought I would intervene in, those are the things that drive me to create time travel. And so the only thing I can actually use it for is useless interventions like changing Berenstain Bears.
Now I hate these stupid bears. I never want to see them ever again for the rest.
I know, right?
Yeah. Whoever did this, good job.
I know. It's such a weird thing.
If they change Dr. Seuss's name, I'm just gonna do something about that.
No, I don't think they, but see, that's it was something small. It was something small but ubiquitous. So, like no one, I don't think anyone is like, "Oh my gosh, I love the Berenstein Bears so much." That's like that's my jam, yo. But we all like remember them for some reason.
You know, it would be just as crappy as finding out that in my backyard there's like half a trillion four-leaf clovers.
Uh,
You know, that this is what it feels like. Like I've been lied to my whole life. They're not rare.
but then I'd be worried that you have like nuclear waste buried in your backyard.
I'm only worried about being lied to about four-leaf clovers. Never mind the plutonium my house is built on top of.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. um okay. Uh let's just get back to it. I if we're ready. You ready?
I'm ready.
Alrighty. Um all right. Welcome back. So we're gonna talk about the first 3 episodes of season 8. The first 3 episodes with Peter Capaldi. When last we left the Doctor, he had just changed into Mr. Angry Eyebrows, and this whole episode is him dealing with that change and essentially being kind of stupid. Um, I
Yes.
mean, I don't quite get the like how disoriented he was. Um, like, I mean, I guess when so let's talk about the previous regenerations that we've seen in New Who. From Eccleston to uh,
Can it?
yeah, sorry, brain fart. From Eccleston to Tennant, obviously he had a hard time with that, but then it was all sorted out after he rested and he had a spot of tea.
Right.
So that was okay. When he changed from Tennant to Smith, he got sorted out by Amelia Pond giving him all sorts of weird food, and he didn't like any of it except for fish fingers and custard. So, but he wasn't disoriented. He didn't know, like, he didn't forget that he was the Doctor. He didn't forget who he was in general. And so, explain to me why this regeneration was different, why it was so disorienting for him.
Cool. Because he was the 11th Doctor. Yeah, 11th or 12th, whatever the number is. He was Matt Smith's Doctor
Uh-huh.
for over 400 years. Remember, he spent well over 400 years. He spent a lot more because he spent at least 300 years in Trenzalore in the City of Christmas. And remember, he spent like 900 years in the Pandora box. Or no, not in the Pandora box. Where was it? He spent like an eternity somewhere, and he had to pop back up.
Well, it was in between like the Impossible Astronaut and
Right.
and that whole time. So like in between when they find him in the cafe after they think he's dead and when he actually gets killed, there's like 300-400 years.
Right. So he has spent like almost 1,000 years being the Matt Smith doctor.
Yeah.
Well, when he has to regenerate, plus it's a whole new regeneration cycle that the witches have granted him. So that adds to it. So he's genuinely confused as to who he's supposed to be, what his purpose is, and what his new face means to him. This regeneration is actually pretty interesting because we hear him say, "I have a new face. I don't know what it is. Should I know what it is? I never know where they come from." So he's giving us a bit of information that the doctor himself doesn't choose his face. He doesn't know where it comes from. It just comes about.
Yeah.
So that's pretty interesting, and that's useful information. What I kind of liked was when he's talking to the homeless man, who happens to be Sarah Jane's real life husband.
Really? Oh,
Her
that's
widow.
cool.
Yeah, or her widow, right? Yeah, I think that's him. When he's talking to him and he says, "Look at this face. Look at these eyebrows. They're so cross." Like he's just trying to figure everything out. I thought that was cool, but in this episode, they make him borderline stupid. And I didn't like that, and I immediately was kind of off-put by it.
Yeah.
And there's a silliness factor in this episode that I just didn't gel with it. I wasn't too crazy about it. I really liked having Madame Vastra back and Strax, that whole crew, the Victorian crew. That was cool. I was all into that. But the silliness factor was kind of distracting. And we have a dinosaur, but it's just for show because it gets burned up.
It was cool for like the 10 seconds that it was there, though. I was like, oh my gosh, there's a T-Rex attacking London. That's so cool. Oh, it's over.
And then it's burning up. Yeah, when he says, "I promise I'll save you," and then whoosh, it goes up in flames. Yeah. I'm like, okay. But it was a bit silly for me to begin with. And then when it finally gets serious, I liked it.
Yeah.
And it goes back to what I was saying before. The doctor's perfectly fine with letting people hang, and not so much experimenting. He wasn't experimenting with Clara. He does so later on with other people, but he's okay with letting her just wait and deal with things on her own. Yeah. Whereas the previous doctors, no, that wasn't them. He's like, yeah, I'll be right back. Make it as well as you can, and she has to hold her breath for I don't know how long. That part was real interesting. That part was real cool. I like the steampunkness of all these, and I guess they're androids.
Yeah, or something. I thought it was cool. It went. There was that callback to that previous episode, where this was it the same ship or was it the sister ship of the one from? Is it the Girl in the Mirror? Was that the episode? Where they also had out of control robots who were trying to turn.
The Girl Who Stayed or the Girl Who Waited?
The girl. Was it the Girl Who Waited?
Yeah, where Aiden gets old.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
No, not the Girl Who Waited. Way back in the Tennant era. The one where the doctor's on a horse and he crashes through the mirror.
Yes, Renaissance France.
Yeah.
Madame de Pompadour.
Yeah, exactly.
Something about the fireplace. The Girl in the Fireplace.
The Girl in the Fireplace. That one. Didn't he? I mean, that's essentially the same problem where the robots on the ship were out of control and were converting the crew into resources.
Right.
And didn't he make a mention that like it was either the same ship or like the sister ship to that ship?
I don't remember that. I guess I'd have to watch that episode again. I don't remember it. Yeah. But you're definitely right. The difference is that these steampunk machines were using human body parts to replace the machine parts.
Yeah.
They're trying to make them as human.
Yeah. So I liked a couple of things that were interesting here. One was we started with the mystery of who put Clara and the doctor together in the restaurant. If it wasn't either of them, we find out later that that's Missy, but that was like, again, I mentioned how like I like that where there's little breadcrumbs and then it leads up to the big thing.
Right.
That's super cool. And the whole time the doctor's like, well, who put us together in the restaurant?
Right.
Because they were supposed to be there. And it kind of reframes the whole thing from the beginning of this season where Missy's like, well, we are friends. We're, we're friends. I want to kill him, but we're friends. Like, so like she's not always just an agent of destruction. So I like that. I also liked there's kind of a parallel track going on with the Doctor's regeneration and dealing with his new old face and the face of the lead robot, where he asks him like, if you take a broom and you replace the handle with another handle, and then you replace the broom part with another broom part, is it the same broom or is it a different broom? And he's obviously feeling so jerked around by regeneration. He's like, who am I anymore? And we get to that bigger ethical question into the Dalek, which
Right.
we'll talk about in a minute. But I thought that that was really cool and a cool way to um, bring up this kind of existential crisis that the Doctor's having, his own identity crisis, where he's not sure exactly who he is. Like I, it makes me wish that the silly parts wouldn't have been in there because it's a very interesting question.
Right.
And for him to be like, I'm Scottish and he's got kidneys and whatever. Like, uh, I
I love when he's screaming at, and why are you talking that way? You sound so English. You all have faults now. That was brilliant. I like that little dig into English society. But yeah, that's what made it uneven. It was stupidly silly, and then you had these deep issues, and then you had a major mystery with the whole Paradise Heaven and Missy,
hmm
and how that one scene right there relates to the girl who waited. Because
yeah,
yeah, and it still hasn't been fully resolved. So like, damn, like there, it had they just stuck to that, it would have been a better episode. But as it is put together, it's uneven, and
yeah.
it kind of it left me wanting.
This is the first episode though where I've ever seen where it starts out silly and then gets good and serious.
Right.
Usually they start off really good and really cool and then they just drop it and it gets weird. So this was interesting. I'm like, oh, I'm really not liking this so far, and then it's like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
This I like.
Right.
So yeah, which leads us right into the Dalek, which I had a great time rewatching. Like I mentioned, this was the first episode I ever watched fully, and um, so much more that I picked up on this time around. The biggest part being the before they even go in, where the doctor asks Clara, "Am I a good man?"
Be a pal.
Yeah, it's like how the fact that he has to even ask this, it becomes the theme, in my opinion, um, of the entire eighth season. But I think it's also coming through in the ninth season as well. Is he a good man?
Right.
There were some parallels in the first two episodes of this season where they're talking with Davros uh, and the Daleks and like, am I a good Dalek? Someone asks that, and and we get that answer in this episode as well, where Rusty, the malfunctioning Dalek, tells the Doctor, "You would have been a good Dalek."
Yeah.
That is really cool. And again, it goes back to this whole like good versus evil, Time Lords versus Daleks, and you can't really have one without the other, and how that all works. I was just I was intrigued by all of that. That being said, without all of that subtext, I thought that the episode was just, it was good, but it wasn't like, oh my gosh, this was so amazing. It was just kind of another Dalek episode.
This episode I liked a lot better than the first episode,
Mm-hmm.
because it goes back to what I was talking about previously. This is where he shows that he's okay letting people die,
Oh yeah.
and he uses and he flat out says he was gonna die anyway.
Yep.
He's very flippant about it, and I'm glad you brought out that good versus evil and how there can't be any good in the absence of evil. So here's the thing, like, if we get rid of evil and we represent good, so if we get rid of evil, do we become slightly evil in response because we're the only ones who know the difference and everything else is good? I mean, these are questions that he himself is pondering. He's ponderizing these questions.
Oh, boo. Boo.
So I think he's dealing with that because he saved Gallifrey. The Daleks are still dead that he knows of. He's not going to know about Scarrows and anything until next season. But, so the bad is dead. He saved the good. Now he needs to define himself. Now, what am I? Am I the sole harbinger of evil now, since I'm the one who knows the difference? I mean, what does this mean for me? And the fact that he's willing to let things just people die and let things happen, we know that he's a good person, but if he's letting these things happen, has he been turning evil now?
Yeah, but at the same time, like, if he can figure out how to make something as evil as a Dalek feel good, to see the birth of a star and to understand that there is life and rebirth in the universe and not just destruction, like, that is worth exploring, and that is worth trying to do. I just thought that was interesting, because I mean, who ever thought that you could actually have a good Dalek?
But he's not really good.
He's not really good.
He's not. He's faulty now.
Yep.
And he made it a point to make that point.
Yep.
Just because he's doing this doesn't mean he's good.
Yep.
So just because the Doctor saved the day doesn't necessarily mean he's good. He still let people die. He still used their deaths to try to gain an advantage.
Yep.
So I mean, there's that parallel going on in that episode. I really liked this episode. I thought this episode was pretty good, and it kind of got things going. And then we had Sherwood Forest.
Okay, maybe I'm the only person here, but I love this. I was just
I hated it.
I was so so amused by it, because it was great to see the Doctor in like full on grump mode, that like, this can't possibly be happening. None of this is real. And it's like, no, it kind of is real. And it's like, that's kind of awesome. And it was so dumb. But after the like large, weighty philosophical issues of the last episode and a half, it was the perfect palate cleanser, especially before we got into Listen. So I just thought it was a great, fun episode, but I think I have a higher tolerance for stupid, dumb, fun episodes.
This was nails on a chalkboard for me. I remember halfway through the episode thinking, is this shit over with already? Looking at the clock, I'm like, this is stupid. This is approaching Love and Monsters level of stupid. Especially when they have that arrow shootout, and Robin Hood's not even looking anymore. He's just shooting, and he's still splitting arrows. I'm like, okay, this is just no. I'm not doing this. No, Moffat, stop, Moffat, stop.
It's like, okay, how many times can we split the arrow? We're on like the 8th one now. Like, what is this? This is ridiculous.
It was the whole thing was stupid, and the whole bitching scene where they're trying to, outdo each other, and Robin's like, ha 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 ha. The whole little, oh my god, that was such a waste of time.
It was a waste of time. I completely agree, but that was the whole point. Was Clara wanted to go back and see Sherwood Forest and waste time, and that's what they did. They found something that wasn't supposed to be. It was supposed to be a myth. And
I like when he says, look at everything around you. It's Sherwood Forest, and we're in fall. Everything's so green." And Clara's like, "Global warming?" It's like, no, this is 1,000 years ago.
Have you ever been to Nottingham? It's not this sunny.
So yeah, certain parts I guess were funny. Certain parts that were meant to be funny came out as absurd and
Oh yeah,
idiotic. The whole spoon thing, fighting with a spoon. I'm like, geez.
Oh, okay, yeah, I agree. That was dumb.
That was way dumb. But like I said, there were certain parts that were funny. Like when he takes a sample of blood from who was it, Will Scarlet, and he's analyzing the blood. He's like, all these diseases, he should be dead by now. That was kind of funny.
Yeah.
But everything else is just dumb. It felt like there were character actors from some Robin Hood play, and they were simply reading off script, and I found that annoying. And they weren't endearing at all. Everybody was hamming it up except possibly Clara. There's so much to hate in this episode that it really shook my trust. I was like, oh my god, we're going on a downward spiral here. This is not looking good.
See, and I know, like, yeah, this episode is hated by a lot of people. I don't know. I felt it was like a stupid piece of fluff, and I was happy. I'm probably the only one who was happy to have it in there. I don't know. So
once again, you didn't have to wait a whole week to get a new episode, and then this is what we got.
That's true, because I went immediately from Into the Dalek to Robot of Sherwood to listen, and I just skipped over it because it's like, oh, next episode, let's go. Yep, didn't have to wait and stew on it for a week.
Listen was great, and we'll talk about that next week. But oh my god, we had to have Listen. I think if any other episode would have followed this stupid piece of crap episode of Robin Hood, it would have broke me because I really hated it that much. It's on my list of one of the worst episodes of Doctor Who ever.
Oh, really? Wow.
I hate it that much. I don't like it.
Wow.
As a matter of fact, I'm offended by it. I need to talk to Moffat about this too.
That's funny. No, I was just kind of meh about it, and I was like, okay, well, let's move on. So yeah, next week we're gonna do Listen. We'll do Time Heist, The Caretaker, and probably Kill the Moon. We'll see. We'll see how much time we spend talking about next week's episode, The Girl Who Died, and if we have enough time to go further into season 8, then we will. But we'll see. We'll at least get those first 3 episodes.
Yeah, those 3 episodes are actually, that's the good part of the season right there.
Yeah,
the Caretaker gave just the right amount of humor. It wasn't overtly silly as what they tried to do previously.
That is true. That's a lot of fun, and we get there's a lot of good Danny Pink in those episodes. So that's kind of peak Danny Pink for those. So, but yeah, that'll pretty much do it for this week. Thanks everyone for listening. Thanks Mark, as always, for being here, and everyone at Big Shiny Robot for hosting the podcast and keeping it up and running. And we will see you all next time.
Cool. Awesome.
And that's over.